Right. Hello again, welcome back. Last time we were chatting about Thorpe Park, we're doing this again.
Yeah. This wanker stole my thunder.
Why are we still talking about Thorpe Park? Hang on, wait. When we finish this episode, does that mean we don't have to talk about Thorpe Park anymore?
Correct.
Yes.
Great, let's get it over with.
Yes. So, welcome back to Tom and Tyler quite like Thorpe and Jay does not.
Except the ghost train.
Except the ghost train, where Tyler is wrong.
Right.
No, he's not. But I have to concede that one, really, don't I? Anyway,
Yep.
Regardless, this time around we're talking a bit more about the events, because as of late, as Thorpe have struggled financially, shall we say,
I think struggled is an understatement.
yeah, they put a lot of focus. Yeah. They've put a lot of focus into events, which I would say is a good thing, because I've really enjoyed them all.
Yes, so glad.
So let's
But
start. Let's
Before we get into that,
okay.
we didn't quite finish our ghost train discussion from the last episode.
God.
Basically, Tom, you're wrong. It's a bad ride. Thank you. Let's move on.
I agree.
You're both wankers, right? Roll the clock
Nice.
back
That
to
was easy.
2019. Yeah, I think we've come to a mutual understanding here. I feel.
Yeah, you like it. You're wrong.
I I liked it when it all worked, because at that point it was a cool tech demo.
Exactly. It was a
needed-
tech demo.
It was a tech demo, it wasn't a ride.
It needed a more cohesive storyline, and it needed someone that wasn't a monkey with a hammer to design it.
You can't call a tech demo a good ride.
I'm afraid.
However, I would like to say I do appreciate the ride system because I got to see it working, and that was fun.
Yes,
Oh, you
that was
lucky
cool.
bastard.
Right, events.
Right, there we go.
Yes, let's roll the clock back to 2019, because that was when the event started, really. That was when Thorpe, I think, were trying to turn themselves around. Obviously, they hadn't had any new
I feel like we're going to
rides.
have to go back a little more before that.
Okay, let's roll back to 2009, which is the last time they installed Good Ride. It's been an interesting spiral since 2009, which was when they last installed something. Actually, maybe 2011, which is when they put Storm Surge in, because I would argue
Yeah.
that was successful.
That was the first year
Yeah.
I went to Thorpe Park.
Same.
Well done. I went the year after. Everything after that, I believe. I mean, obviously, it was on good foundations, because you're not going to get a company as big as Merlin making that many fundamental mistakes. The mistakes they made after deciding they were going to install the rides are a different question altogether. But the fundamental decision to install the Swarm, to install the Ghost Train, to change the Walking Dead, change X to the Walking Dead, were good decisions.
I
But it
would
was what-
agree on all but the latter.
The Walking Dead
Yeah.
makes sense, because I feel like that's the market they're trying to shift into.
The Walking did make sense, they
But-
themed the wrong ride, though.
They fucked up, yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I'd still like to go back to like 2011, because Storm Surge is when they were starting to target the families a bit more.
Yeah.
2012, obviously, people wanted a new coaster, got a new coaster.
Do you want my take on the whole thing, actually? Do you want to know how to fix Thorpe Park overnight?
That is what podcasts are for.
Yeah, well, shut up. What I want is for them to just theme the entirety of Thorpe to Amity, because I fucking love that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
is
think-
good.
And that area in 2011 was brilliant. It had such a good atmosphere.
Ultimately, what Thorpe needs to do is take themselves less seriously.
Yes, absolutely.
Do a Wallaby.
Which I think they're doing.
They need to go down the route. I love Wallaby. They need to do that.
I think what they did last year, in terms of events and so on, was bang on the money. You've got Fright Nights, which you take seriously, because you can't scare people if they're laughing.
No.
That makes sense. But then you got something like Oktoberfest, which is just taking the piss. And that was absolutely fantastic.
Oktoberfest is a brilliant idea. Probably the best idea they've done, by far.
Yeah.
That the changes they made to rides, in particular the Rapids to Samurai and to Detonator, were fantastic.
What did they do to the Rapids?
Yes.
Basically they just played
Rapids
music over it, but it was really good fun. And then obviously you've got Detonator, which you slap a Eurobeat yodel soundtrack over. It's just incredible. And then Bavarian Bingo, you turn the chicken song into a Bavarian song and then twist both of the speed dials all of the way.
Yes.
Fantastic.
But the fact that they've had to resort to events really says a lot about the investments, and I think for me it went downhill 2014, I think, because when the Swarm opened, I really enjoyed it. But when was it? Angry Birds was 2014, wasn't it?
Angry Birds was the beginning of the downfall.
It was. That was
that 2014 or 2013?
I think it was 14.
14.
I think 13 was Brave It Backwards was their new thing. 14 was Angry Birds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I think the decline began, because it started their. I don't know if it started their reliance on the IPs, but it certainly, because obviously
it was definitely solidifying their reliance on IP.
Yeah.
Because obviously after that you got I'm a Celebrity, which was
my god.
I mean, so much of a flop that it's now got an escape room in it, which, admittedly, good fun. Enjoyed it, but
it wasn't too bad. Not really an escape room, but more of a theatrical experience.
Yes, I enjoyed it. I had a good time.
Yeah, it was good fun. But the fact that they went with an IP that was pretty much on its way out anyway, one that people didn't really care about by the time it was in, because Angry Birds was a very 2011, 2012 sort of game. And to then take out a chunk of Amity to do it.
That was the biggest crime. That was the biggest crime.
I mean, what they did was they cut Amity in half.
Yeah.
Is what they did.
They ruined the best
thing
area
down in the
park,
middle.
is what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit tragic, but
I don't care about Detonator being bombs away. I don't really care about that. That's fine.
That made literally no difference. It was still a fantastic drop tower.
Yes. But before that, Thorpe was still a theme park.
Yeah.
After Angry Birds, I think it became the UK Six Flags as how people see it.
That's a brilliant analogy, actually.
Just slapping something in
Yeah.
with very little consideration of the impact of the surrounding area.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say Six Flags, because they can be offensively shit.
No,
it's not as bad as Six Flags, but it's a similar philosophy.
That's how people perceive it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just the easiest way to try and explain it.
I mean, at least Six Flags has good coasters.
Well, Thorpe has too.
Some of them. Yeah. They're all good. But anyway,
but then you look at a Six Flags park and they've got like 2 headline attractions, and the rest of it's just filler. They're all
chaff.
Yeah, they're
to
all
be fair,
big rides.
I haven't been to that many Six Flags parks, and one of them was Magic Mountain, so I'm a little.
Yeah, that is definitely the outlier, isn't it? Anyway, that's by the by.
Angry Birds bad.
Yes.
Wait, actually, on the topic of Angry Birds, have any of you done the Angry Birds 4D cinema thing?
Yes.
It's
What's
shit.
it like?
It is so bad.
It's so bad. Next time you're down on a quiet day, we'll
I've never done it because there's always been a queue, and I am not queuing for that.
I think that the fundamental problem with it is Angry Birds doesn't translate to a movie, because the characters don't fucking talk. And it's not like Mr. Bean doesn't talk, where you can act and fill it up.
Is there actually like a genuine Angry Birds movie now?
Yes,
and that's what the 4D film is based off.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I think another key issue with it is the fact that obviously it's a 4D cinema, so it has seat tilt. But the seat tilt mechanism is louder than the speakers. So you hear all of these pneumatic actuators go boom as the seats come backwards. Yeah. And then something on screen happens and they'll go and move forward and backward. And then they'll go bang and they slam forward again. So not only have you just been deafened,
I feel like
you've been beaten around the head with your own spine.
Next time you come to Thorpe on a relatively quiet day, we'll do it.
Absolutely.
It is hilarious.
Yeah, that's crap.
Did they do anything with it for Oktoberfest?
No, but they do for Fright nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do their
like,
horror thing,
film
don't they?
things.
I know this year they put horror movies in it. I think put a few actors in it. I can't really remember, but I know years past it's had quite a strong actor-led role. I know they like show things. I don't think it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it was something similar. And then obviously you have a bloke come running out with a chainsaw. It's cheap,
that is
quite,
something
quite
I would.
a good idea.
I'm not saying that IPs are bad when it comes to scare mazes, but when it comes to permanent attractions, I don't think they work at Thorpe anymore. They're not.
You need to think them through. And this is
they need to be thought out better.
An issue that Thorpe has had. I'm a Celebrity is like, who cares? I'm a Celebrity is on when
Once
Thorpe
a
Park
year.
is closed.
Yeah.
And it, like, other than that, who remembers it? Who cares about it? And it's like,
The only time anyone talks or thinks about I'm a Celebrity is when it's on.
yeah, exactly. And that's when your park's shut. What's
Yeah.
the point? Something like The Walking Dead is a solid theory, but nobody watches it anymore because it's effectively a joke.
That's right. So that's what I wanted to mention about The Walking Dead is when Thorpe got the IP for the mazes, it was still relevant.
Yeah.
bit.
Was that 2017?
20
Was it
2017.
18?
I think it was 2017. It was 2017 because it was the year before The Walking Dead: The Ride. So at that point, I think season 6 had just aired, which was the one that people were like, "Why the fuck did they do that?" That was
season 6 is where the actual show started to decline.
yeah, and that was when they just got the mazes. So by the time The Walking Dead: The Ride rolled
It was
around,
some pretty shit timing.
yeah, the show itself wasn't as good. It's only on like my experience from watching it. I didn't enjoy the show from season 6 onwards.
Yeah, I've also
Which
watched every season up until 6, and I sort of gave up around season 7.
Yeah, and because I think people stopped caring about the IP then, for Thorpe to then invest in it, it's just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's,
Like, they must have seen that people weren't liking the show as much anymore at that point. Like, it was so obvious. It was all over everything.
after the papers had been signed.
Yeah.
So that's it. All right. Congratulations, you've got a shit IP.
alternatively, the IP was going cheap because people don't care about it anymore.
That's incredibly likely.
The rumour was that AMC approached Thorpe or approached Merlin and said, look, our UK viewer base is crap. Here's a really cheap license to push our brand. Will you take it?
That would make sense.
I
But
believe
it still
that is
pisses
what
me off.
happened. Yeah, it's...
I mean, as we established in the last one, we don't like The Walking Dead: The Ride. So.
Yeah. I don't think fundamentally it was a bad decision, but...
The mazes were okay.
The maze that I did, which one did I do? It was one
think
in
you did
the
Living
same building,
Nightmare.
actually.
Living Nightmare.
Yeah, that was quite good. It was...
That was really good one year, really bad the next. But before we actually get on to the Fright Nights events, in the
Yes.
timeline we're currently... we skipped ahead a little bit. I want to point out the closure of attractions. The death of Loggers Leap and Slammer is when Thorpe really went downhill, in my opinion. That is when... I think it was despite Angry Birds, 2014, 2015 sort of time, Thorpe was amazing.
Yeah.
Everything was working properly, well, as properly as it can be for things like Saw. And
He's trying, bless it.
Swarm was backwards, Loggers was still working. The atmosphere around the whole park was fairly consistent, apart from that one blob of Angry Birds in Amity.
Yeah.
When Loggers closed, when Slammer closed, and coincidentally when the Ghost Train opened, is when Thorpe Park just fuck it. That's when people started hating it, really, and I think that's where I sort of fell out of love with the park.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until 2019 and the events that I actually started really enjoying it again.
It's funny you say that, because the first time, before I was even thinking about being an enthusiast and going to theme parks and riding coasters, just when I was young, I was 11 or 12, and I first went to Thorpe Park. I really, 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 really enjoyed it. The atmosphere was great. It felt really nice, like a nice place to be. And that was in What was that? Oh, yeah, that was the year before
Well, you
Swarm.
said
That was 2011.
2011, didn't you? Yeah, I had a similar experience in
And I
2012.
remember, all I remember from that visit
Same.
is Amity, especially around the area around Tidal Wave, with like the Beach Boys music playing, and it was a
God,
really
it was
sunny day.
good.
It had such a good atmosphere, and you go back there now, and it's just not the same.
Yeah,
It's a shadow of its former self.
Yeah.
Really.
it's. I think we'd be remiss to say it's not improving. It, especially in the last 2 years, I've really enjoyed it again.
Oh yeah, same. Like recently, it's certainly on the up, and
Yeah, absolutely.
it was just, where a lot of people are saying Thorpe is the worst park in the UK. I imagine the majority of those people, their last visit would have been between 2016 and 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these are also people who've never visited Legoland, Chessington, Fantasy Island, Flamingo Land, Lightwater Valley, so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's
To say it's the worst park in the UK is just wrong.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not.
it has its issues, but then so does every park.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not good. Well, unless your name's Phantasialand, you're not perfect. Actually, no, that has Geisterrichter. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Shall we then stick the clocks to 2019 and have a chat about those events?
Yes.
Yes.
Shall we start with Game FX? Yeah, Game FX was... I mean,
Oh
it was a
god,
fun
Game
distraction.
Effects! I completely forgot about that.
it was
It
was a really fun distraction for about half an hour. If
It
that.
was.
I remember
yeah.
when we walked in there, we played a bit of Forza Horizon, and was like, "Oh, okay, was that it?" And then left.
Yeah,
We played some Forza Horizon and then Simpsons Hit and Run, and then I was like, I've got
That's
this game
right.
at home. Why am I playing it here?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Why would
Yeah,
you go
yeah,
to
right.
Thorpe Park
I'm
to play
paying
video games on
money.
a console that you probably have? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's. I can see what they were trying to do,
Yeah.
but don't do it again.
don't do that.
Yeah.
It was good fun for half an hour. That's about it, really, isn't it?
Did my mic pick up that fart? No, it didn't. Okay.
Yeah, yes, it
Oh,
did.
dear.
It's quite remarkable.
That's not being cut out.
It was a low, lengthy grumble. That was.
Professionalism at its finest.
Okay, Mr. Screwdriver. Not your undertone. Right, so yeah, Game Effects was a thing.
Yeah.
a bit.
So
a
I'd
bit
say,
weird.
yeah, the next best sort of event as they advertised it for that year was probably Jungle Escape. I would say.
Yes, which is fundamentally not an escape room. It's a theatrical
No.
experience with a few puzzles in it, which is quite fun, but it's not an escape room.
I had really good fun doing it, and it's
So did I.
better than some actual escape rooms I've done.
Yep.
But scientist.
I mean, I've done some shit escape rooms,
yeah,
so saying it's better than those isn't really a high bar.
yeah. I mean,
But it's really
I
hard to
haven't
compare them.
I haven't done any really shit escape rooms, which is a good acid test, I'd say.
I'll send you a
It
link
was-
to
it
some.
was- Yeah, I want to do the baby monitor one. It was good fun. It had a fun little storyline to it, a fun little pre-show, reasonable.
I wouldn't really consider that an event.
I mean, the fact it hasn't run for a while kind of says
I mean,
might
it
have
was
been
just
an
a
event.
ride experience that lasted very short period of time. I wouldn't quantify that as an event. It was
Yeah.
more of an attraction,
It-
isn't it?
It was more of an attraction, but they advertised it with the other events, so
Right.
Is it?
But it was-
Is it still supposed to be there? Is it meant to
Yeah,
come
yeah,
back?
it was meant to open last year, but obviously couldn't.
Oh, so it isn't just
Because-
dead, it is a thing that's still around.
Yeah, it is still a thing. It's all still set up. They put some tenting up for the Fright nights, but otherwise,
Yeah.
it is still,
But
as
it's-
far
it's
as I'm
good
aware,
fun.
there. It's good fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
But most importantly, in terms of events that made us fall back in love with Thorpe Park, Bouncezilla.
Oh my god, it was.
It's
fun.
on paper, it sounds pathetic that one of the most fun times I've had at Thorpe Park recently was because they put a bouncy castle in.
See, I never
but
did this.
It
but
was hilarious.
the sheer
you missed
the
out.
things that you have
really
been
missed
like
out.
when I first saw that I was like, what the fuck are they doing? That's the stupidest thing ever. But the things you've said about it makes me want to go and do it.
That was the beginning of Thorpe not taking itself seriously.
Yeah.
They saw they had a plot of land. Oh, this doesn't get used very often. What should you do with it? Massive inflatable. Fuck me, was it fun?
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
It exhausted me.
That does sound
But just flinging yourself through this inflatable obstacle course. Like leaping off like 10-foot thing. It was just
How did it work?
incredible.
Did they like batch you into groups, or was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
You were batched into groups of about 20, but
Right.
you went in your group, as it were.
Yeah.
So just the people you were there with.
Yeah.
And they send them in every sort of 20 seconds
Ah,
or so.
right. Okay.
So you always had space, and there were people in the middle screaming if you stopped, so it kept the flow.
It was
Sounds like a right
exhausting
laugh.
but hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
I was absolutely fucked after I went around that. Like, I was not walking straight. But good God.
So
yeah.
what you're saying is they need to bring it back and make it Oktoberfest themed.
Yes. give you a stein of beer.
You
before
gotta
go
chug
in.
a pint before
See
you do
what
a run.
happens.
I can get behind that, honestly.
That would be
brilliant.
fucking-
Until someone voms on it. Yeah.
That would be within minutes. That would be within about 10 minutes of the thing opening. It would be slick with beer. It would be awful.
Yeah.
That's an image I'm not getting out of my head anytime soon.
Yeah.
But if it does come back, if Bouncezilla does come back in any way, shape, or form, I highly recommend going to do it because it was.
I'm coming. If it
Absolutely.
comes back, I'm there.
I'm not sure it will.
It
but
probably
I
won't,
hope
but if it does, I'm there.
Yeah.
Because they found it. The company who Merlin leased it from still run it, or at least, did before COVID kind of killed everything. So you can find it and visit it elsewhere.
Oh,
Just
is it
not
like a
a
travelling
thought.
thing, is it?
Yeah, it's just a company that rents out
Right.
inflatable things.
Yeah, I think you can lease it for your back garden if you're rich enough.
Big back garden for
They'd
that.
have a
too.
fucking big
Fucking
garden.
massive. You go out of a field. Yeah.
Maybe we could use all of our subscribers to crowdfund Bouncezilla.
Just give me all your money.
Yeah.
Or buy-
we
actually-
might not
actually,
spend
buy
it on
some
the
of-
ride.
Buy some of my Lego models.
Fucking shell.
Yeah, I know, right? That is. I mean, to be fair, it's why we haven't done anything for a while. I've been too busy playing with Lego.
You've
So-
been
Yeah,
addicted
that's
to
true.
that thing.
I've
Yeah,
been
it's-
working. You've been doing Lego, and Jay, you've had your thumb up your ass, I think, or something like that. I don't really know. What
A
you've been up
combination of surfing and making coasters. And
Fair enough.
sitting in my room watching the world explode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been an interesting pastime, hasn't it? Anyway, that's by the by. I believe Fright Nights is next on the agenda.
Yes, and we're going to be here for a while.
We are, because
We've
have some
already been
opinions.
recording for 23 minutes.
Yep, we're going to be up to an hour by the time we're done here. So, should we kick off with 2019 Fright Night, Maze's worst to best?
I can't remember what my rankings are. Hang on.
Living
I can't
fucking
remember mine
Nightmare.
either.
Living Nightmare was my least favourite then. We'll go with mine.
Right,
'cause
so
that was shit in 2019.
Living Nightmare. You did it in 2019? You did it right?
Only done it in
Right.
19, yeah.
It was in 2019. It was shite. 2018. It was probably the best maze at the park. So how they fucked it up that badly, I don't know.
I think it's the difference in quality of the other mazes, because 2018 was abysmal.
Yes, that
And
is
then
true.
2019, they stepped it up quite heavily. They
I don't know.
Focused.
There was a significant drop in quality between The Walking Dead one year and The Walking Dead the next year. Living
They
Nightmare
had
specifically.
changed the finale.
Yeah.
I believe they had replaced the finale with something better. Showed it to AMC, who went, "What the fuck are you doing? Get rid of it!"
Yeah.
And then they had to rethink it with about like 2 weeks before the fucking thing opened.
Yeah.
Well, that's guesswork. Don't quote me on the time
Yeah.
scale. So the finale was fucking pathetic. I remember going through it the first time thinking, this is fine. I'm not getting any scares, but like some reasonable sets. And then we walk through this scene full of camo netting, where someone jumps out. Admittedly, it's one of the more intelligent scares at Fright Nights was a mirror that made it look like there was still sort of tree, as it were, there.
Yeah.
But there's an actor hiding behind it who can then pop out. That was quite well done. But that was the finale.
Ooh.
I then walked out into what was obviously an old queue corridor for X No Way Out. Sort of looking around going, is that it? Okay. And then you walk through the most fucking stupid entry-exit system ever, where two paths cross over.
Oh my god, that's ridiculous. What is the point of that? I just remembered that.
I really hope they fixed that for Black Mirror.
If they haven't, I will be shocked.
Yeah, that was stupid. Although I do remember it was quite funny because we were waiting to be batched into it, and then the previous groups all coming out saying how bad it was.
Yeah. It's a key thing with a scare maze is a lot of a person's thoughts on it will be based upon your finale. That is your big...
the last thing that you remember is going to be what sticks.
That is your big opportunity to make an impression on people, and if your finale is pants, the rest of your scare maze is going to be let down. It's the same reason The Walking Dead is shit.
It's funny you should mention that. What you remember is the first 30%. So people's opinions on the maze is based on their first impressions as opposed to their last ones. I think the finale is more important, and it's like, as you say, I think the finale is the most important part of the maze because that does leave the lasting impression. But it means you've got a bit of wiggle room in the middle. If people supposedly remember the first thing and the last thing.
It's funny you should say that, right? Because I am a perfect person to test this out on, because I've never been particularly cared that much for scare mazes. And I did Fright Nights in 2019. It's probably the first scare maze I've done in years. And thinking about The Walking Dead one in specific, the things I remember from that are the terrible pre-batch sequence. I remember the opening scene with the Negan, the female Negan. I remember basically nothing of the middle, and then I remember the ending. I don't remember any of the bit in the middle.
It's the beginning sets the tone, and the end is what sticks in your mind.
And honestly, it's the same for Creek Freak as well. I remember going in, I remember the room at the start, the pre-show thing, the route you take. Something happened in the middle, and then there's the maze with the strobes, and you get chased out by a chainsaw. That's what I remember.
Exactly. People remember the very last scene.
The very first things and the very last things.
The average numbers is like the first 30% of the maze is what people remember, along with the very last scene. That's how people rank and review mazes.
I can believe that for sure.
It's a question of setting the scene and the tone and the atmosphere. That's what your 30% does.
Which is what I don't understand, because with Living Nightmare, it was the first part was identical in 2018 and 19, so it meant
tits, but yeah.
I did it a few times where it had multiple different Negans.
That's not a 2019 thing?
No,
then.
It's
oh dear.
I suppose with the lore of The Walking Dead, it makes sense, but like for the average Joe like you, Tom, it means nothing.
That made fucking no sense. Negan, as far as I'm concerned, is this big, tall bloke with a bit of a beard and a bat. So when I rock up and there's a black woman standing in front, that's not Negan. Why are you saying you're Negan? What? I was absolutely fucking baffled.
I think the problem was with... They had all these people in. Obviously, you're not going to find a million replicas of Negan to work in there, but the fact that they sort of acted and explained like they were Negan is what made it weird. If they'd have just said they were someone else, it would be fine.
The reliance on them being Negan
They could have just said they're one of Negan's henchmen or one of their associates.
But that's the thing. They are, but because you have to understand
I know that in terms of the law, but... That should be explained in the ride as well.
Exactly, because you don't know that, it makes it a shit maze, because it doesn't tell you that itself.
Yeah, anyway, Living Nightmare was crap. Do or Die was another maze that existed.
I don't even remember that at all.
I don't think you did it.
I definitely did 2 Walking Dead ones.
Okay.
Oh, maybe you did then.
I don't remember the last
one. Either way round, Tyler and I did it basically on our own.
Yeah.
Oh, did you have like a private group almost?
Which was really good fun.
We've had a few situations like that.
However, if your maze is only good when you're on your own, it's not a good maze.
Yeah.
If you design a maze in which an entire group cannot be scared, or, you've probably bollocksed it somewhere along the line. It was, as sort of a group of 5 of us, I think, went through, it was fantastic. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think that the reason, because my favourite maze at Thorpe Park on my rankings at least, and I think it is, like, based on that one, the run we had, was when it was you and I, Tom, and 3 other people doing Platform 15.
That was fucking incredible.
Where we could actually hear the story as they were going through it. We split up from the group eventually, so it was just the two of us running
fucked
through.
off. Yeah.
Every scare worked apart from the finale where we triggered it, walked out, and missed the scare.
Yeah, see, platform.
That was funny.
You're on about
really funny.
Platform. I didn't particularly like it, but I also had a really shit run through of it. Like, half of the effects weren't working. The finale I missed entirely.
Platform is not wildly dissimilar to Nemesis Inferno. Stick with me here.
Yeah, they seem pretty different to me.
It is fundamentally a great idea, but it is wildly inconsistent.
Yeah.
When you get a good run on Platform, you get a fucking belter. It is amazing.
Yeah, it has all the potential to be really good.
Yeah, like the setting, the setup.
I love the setting of it. You go back, it's almost like a backstage area, and it's really good.
The storyline they've set up is incredible. The sets that they've got are brilliant. But the problem with it is so open that it can be difficult to get scares.
Yeah.
Especially in the void in between the train and the houses. And then in the previous incarnations, so the 2019 and before versions, in that tunnel, that was just dead space. That was fucking awful. I appreciate it has to be there because you're in Saw's ride area. There needs to be something over you. But using it as a queue in the 2020 iteration was a much better use than the 2019
they used that as a
version.
queue?
Yeah, you went through all of the tunnel as a queue, and then when you got where you used to go into the tunnel originally in the old version is the batch point.
Oh, that seems like a better idea.
Which was brilliant because it meant that the holes in the bin bags you could take photos of Saw from.
Yes. Great views. And
which you couldn't do when it was a maze.
And it meant that when you were in the tunnel, it wasn't part of the maze, and a big problem I had with that when it was part of the maze is you'd have Saw fucking about over above you, and that kind of killed everything that they were trying to do.
That does sound like a better setup, though, with the queue there and the match point at the start.
The 2020 iteration was a significantly better maze, but the run-through that we had, where it's basically just us two, Tyler, is the best run I've had through it.
Yes, and that's why I've got old platform over new platform.
Yeah. I really appreciated... no, we'll get on to 2020 in a bit. 2019 platform was a fantastic concept, as it always has been, but it's always sort of been lacking something.
Yeah.
It's very stop-start.
Yeah.
Which I think you could use to build some tension, but then it lacks audio and some lighting. It has a bit of lighting. Quite nice, but...
The fact that it is just... You can see so far ahead... And I feel like it's too linear to be able to really do anything properly with it.
You can always see exactly where you're going.
Yeah.
Right, shall we shift to Blair Witch?
I haven't done that one.
Shit. Right, moving on.
Yeah, alright, fair enough. All I'd want to say about Blair Witch is the maze is crap, but the setting is fucking incredible.
Yes.
Oh, wait, no, I have done Blair Witch.
I thought you had.
I have done Blair Witch. Yeah, the setting was great, the maze was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, that shows how bad it is, because I forgot I even did it. But yeah, the setting was cool.
The setting, the grown-up forest it's in, pumped full of fog and then lit up, is really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, the maze was pants.
I can tell, Tom, that you're itching to talk about Creek
Freak. I'm itching is...
Oh, have you stopped sucking it off now? Have you realised it's not actually as good as you said it was?
I never would say I sucked it off.
You're on a very Ghost Train trajectory with this one.
Yeah. I think what I'm doing is...
I mean, I'll say it's the best maze I did there.
Oh, yeah, by a mile. I think that's what made me enjoy it, is...
It still doesn't hold a candle to Scarefest.
No, nowhere near.
But it was okay.
It's basically, it's a pretty good maze surrounded by a lot of chaff, which elevates it a lot further. If they're advertising that as their most intense maze ever or whatever, which makes me fucking...
It's not intense.
...worry for what happened before, because no, it's not intense. Every single scare is telegraphed. You know it's happening.
Yeah.
By virtue of there being no actor not really. Well, there is actor runs, but they're just not used. So all of the actors are there. They use intimidation to scare you rather than impact scares, which doesn't really lead to intensity. It just leads to a general feeling of minor discomfort.
Yeah.
The only time you're ever going to get jumped is in that chainsaw finale where a bloke with a big petrol engine can just fucking appear in front of you. And that's quite good.
I did open that a little harsh, but that's because Tom is wrong about most things.
He is quite wrong quite often.
I like the potential that Greek Freak has. And I, as a maze and as an experience, I enjoyed it. It was good fun. I wasn't scared in any way, shape or form. So the fact that they build it as like their most intense maze, it was a little bit underwhelming. However, the set design, the maze layout, pretty good.
It makes fantastic use of the space.
Yeah.
The only complaint I'd have is the sheer amount of space that the crawl tunnel takes up. It's fucking ludicrous. And admittedly, I don't know what else you'd do because it's paced really well.
Yeah.
If you extended that first bit, it would begin to get boring. But as it stands, it dumps you into the chaos quite well.
Where they stopped using it was when it became a little bit, So on the busier nights where they wouldn't spend the time in the pre-show,
it's just get through. Come on,
with you, it's just go go go. And the fact that it's easy to split groups up in Greek Freak is the aspect of it that I really liked. The fact that you can get, one person from your group sent off in the crawl space immediately, and then you can have actors holding people up and sending people on their way. I like that it's disorientating for everyone in the group, where you suddenly turn around and you're on your own. I love that.
Yeah, I feel like splitting up groups is a really good factor in getting people out of their comfort zone and making people a little more wary of what's going on.
Yeah.
If you want to terrify a person, you remove them from the people around them. It is that easy. All you need to do is send a person through pretty much any of these mazes completely alone. And suddenly everything is amplified.
Yeah.
And that is something Greek Freak had the capacity to do, but I don't think it utilised.
Yeah.
Purely because it got 3-hour queues, and you just have to pump people through, which is completely fair.
I mean,
enough.
fair play for putting it in what is, for all intents and purposes, a shed.
they did bloody well. I mean,
I was quite impressed
there,
with the sheer amount of stuff they fit in there.
Yeah, when you're in there, you do not know you're in the old loggers.
It's
building.
a real shame that it has to be at the expense of loggers.
But
But it's not.
But if
too
loggers
bad.
had to die. If loggers had to die, I'm okay with that as an alternative.
I'm not, because you could put it somewhere else.
I mean, it could be better.
It's wrong to call it a replacement, but it's...
because you could build Greek Freak anywhere.
Yeah.
I think...
I'd sooner see Greek Freak built inside the Black Mirror thing and theme that bit of that up to the buckwheat sawmill. That would have worked better, in my opinion.
Equally, that atmosphere in that area of the park on a Fright nights at night was possibly the best atmosphere Thorpe has ever created.
No,
it was also fantastic fun watching people get chased out of the ending.
And that is exactly why.
I didn't think the atmosphere was that good around Greek Freak in 2019, but when they did the Greek Freak Scare Zone in 2020, that was incredible. I didn't like it. I didn't like it when it was just the attraction on its own and no scare zone. But when you had the whole area working, you had all the actors outside. Obviously, you didn't have the run out and to laugh at that, but you could laugh at everyone outside having to run from chainsaws. Just being in that area during 2020 was really nice, and they did.
It was. Yeah.
That's what Thorpe Park did well in 2020, is their scare zones, and Oktoberfest. But the scare zones were really, really good, and I hope they come back post-COVID.
They better. So that feels like we've moved on pretty naturally to them then. So the Greek Freak Scare Zone, for those who are unaware, was just in that little plaza at the front. It was effectively an outdoor scare maze in a wide open space.
Yeah, and it basically followed a similar story to Greek Freak. You need recruits and chainsaws. Yeah.
Oh, actually, we changed our mind. We want you dead. Yeah, it was pretty well set up. It had plenty of people with fake axes who were swinging them remarkably close to your face. That was genuinely pretty terrifying. And obviously your chainsaws, which are not nearly as impactful when they're outdoors.
You can see them coming, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, there's a bloke with a chainsaw. I wonder what he's going to do with that.
They made the best out of the situation.
Absolutely. And that was a fantastic scare zone.
Yeah.
I really
So I do
enjoyed it.
hope that they... Because obviously they'll want to reopen the maze itself. I hope they just continue it outside into the area.
Yeah, if they sort
They
of
probably
just...
wouldn't have the staff to do the scare zone and the maze, would they?
This is the problem.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because having the scare zone like that and the maze as well would be brilliant.
Yeah.
If you all you need to do is drag the maze out, so you have your pre-show effectively take place in the plaza outside.
Yeah.
You've got a couple of buckwheats floating around trying to recruit everyone. Yeah, is that... Just wait in that queue for a bit. We'll get to you in a moment. Don't worry. And then rejig that first bit so you can get rid of your crawl space, get rid of your pre-show.
Yeah, you could almost kind of make the queue the pre-show in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be brilliant. That would bring everything together. That would bring Old Town alive.
And you could have like some actors going around the queue and like chatting to people and shit and asking them questions about what's happening and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Make the queue a little more engaging.
It's definitely a concept I would love to see them explore. It'd be brilliant.
The stark contrast of the scare zone and what that area is like during the day as well is incredible.
Yeah.
The fact that during the day it's a kiddie zone, which doesn't fit in the park at all anymore. It's with the shifting target
that whole
market and
area
that bollocks
needs to be
just,
like completely changed, honestly.
Yeah. It needs to go. They need to decide what they want to do with the target market. Choose one. Not try and bring in kiddie flat rides from Merlin parks that don't want them anymore.
It's going to turn into Peppa Pig World.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Commit to being the thrill park in the country again. And then I think Thorpe Park will be right back up there as one of the best.
Yeah, see, that's the thing I never got. Thorpe does not need to cater to a family audience, because Chessington is nearby for that reason.
So is Legoland.
Thorpe, and especially with the clientele that Thorpe gets. It's not a kiddie park.
Yeah.
No, it's not. So moving away then from the lofty heights of Creek Freaks Unchained, or whatever the fuck it was called, at Fright Nights last year, you get what I have not very affectionately started calling the bus zones.
Oh god.
Which were... So there was the Howling of Lycanthrope High, was it?
Yeah, Lycanthrope and Amity.
Oh god, those things were... I didn't do 2020, but if it's anything like that high school thing they did in 2019...
Identical.
The theory they have is brilliant. It's... is it vampires?
Vampires
it is
and
vampires
werewolves,
and
yeah.
werewolves, isn't it? And then they clash and have a dance-off. Like, that's a cool idea. But it just fell flat. The show they did was great fun. I really enjoyed it, even if it was the same as 2019, just a bit bigger. I enjoyed that quite a lot. But the actual zones themselves just... They feel like they could both benefit from significant investment in prosthetics. Especially the werewolf one.
I feel like the other thing was they were so disjointed. They were so separate that when they tried to do the dance-off thing, it was just like, oh, why are there so many people here now? There was no clear fact. There's no obvious connection.
There was no build-up to it.
Yeah. I'd love for them to hammer home that these are two warring factions on separate sides of the park. If you could figure out a way to hammer that home, despite them being so geographically distant within the confines
you
of
don't
Thorpe
put them
Park.
on separate sides of the park.
Yeah, that would help.
Stick them both in the stealth area, or in the Amity area somewhere.
You could do.
I don't know how they'd do that, but something that would, or even if you kept one of them as at the stealth plaza and the rest of them just roamed around Amity.
Yeah.
Or if they all roamed around just Amity, but then went to stealth for their dance off. That would
What you should do is all roam around, and like maybe every now and then some werewolves and some vampires will meet up randomly in an area and start having an argument and shit.
Yeah.
Screaming
just
at each other
randomly,
across the
like
park.
not part of the show, just all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
But equally, they've got their roaming actors in the Crows.
Yeah,
oh
true.
My God.
And
yeah.
Tom, this is your chance to take it away.
You apparently like this.
The Crows are possibly my favourite thing that Thorpe Park have ever done. They are a fantastically creepy and menacing collection of things that just fucking wander around the park. They could appear anywhere at any moment. We caught them watching that dance show at one point. We've seen them standing in bushes by the flying fish. I've seen them wandering around near the Burger King in Old Town.
So are they very much like a non-active thing? They're always like lurking. They don't really like chase you or scare you. But they're always watching you in like the corner.
They do
and stuff.
that.
They will chase you and scare you if you come into their area, sort of thing.
Right.
So
Yes.
if you're walking past flying fish trying to get to the swarm, they'd be in those bushes either side and jumping out at people. And that was
So
brilliant.
it's like one of those things where if you look around, you might see
And
one.
you could not fucking see.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's no way of knowing. We were chatting to their chaperone because they have to have someone to, follow them and make sure they're not getting abused.
Yeah.
And we were just chatting with him. I was like, genuinely, is there a set route, or do you just do whatever you want? Just go wherever we fancy. We're thinking about going up and watching the show in Amity in a minute, so you could.
There are set places that they go to at points. They've got their crosses that
they have
get
the
to.
congregation crosses, which they have a little sort of show scene that comes over the PA. Like, we are the crows, who are we watching? Nobody knows, some shit like that. It was really cool. And then they all look like they're sort of getting reanimated, and all of their joints are all crusty and shit. They sort of jerk around and then jump down and then storm at people and stand and stare. And,
That's a really cool concept.
They
are
some of my favourite roaming characters
good.
in any scare event.
Yeah, that's a brilliant idea.
They are incredible, and the effort that went into their masks, and some of them had these gloves on and everything. It was perfect. They could not have been any better if they tried.
I can't wait to see something like that come about when COVID's gone, basically, when you can do more with the atmosphere of that character.
Yeah,
in the area can
do without COVID fucking everything.
The thing
up.
I'm worried about, though, is that these scare zones and scare actors and roaming things are only here because of COVID.
They are.
Like, when COVID's gone, all of this stuff's going to go away.
But hopefully they'll realise that they did well and keep some of them.
Crows and Festival have been in the works for a while.
Right.
They're not COVID.
Okay.
The other ones all are. Obviously the bus zones are a different entity. And Creek Freak is a product of not being able to have the maze. But Crows and Festival, I know Crows have been about for a while because they were on promotional material a while ago.
Yeah, they have been around for a long time.
And Festival, I believe, was going to happen this year regardless of COVID, and from everything I've heard, it is coming back, which is good because Festival was another highlight of 2020 Fright Nights.
Festival was pretty cool, but I would rather see Big Top come back.
Absolutely. However, the atmosphere that they created there, especially at night when it wasn't too crowded, it did have a big bottlenecking problem when it got busy. But when you could get it quiet, it was fantastic. Everything this really flat, either blue, darkish blue, grey, black or white colour scheme.
Yeah.
And it's sort of Victorian, almost masquerade-y style aesthetic going on was really, really cool. And then they had Wasteland's knockoff fire show that we ignored because it was crap, but that's by the by.
But yeah, all in all, despite the downside of 2020, it did quite well, I think.
As a whole event, Fright Nights outshone Scarefest.
In terms of atmosphere, yes.
But
mazes, no.
Yes. Mazes, obviously, nowhere fucking near.
The Thorpe mazes
crap.
last year were...
They were not good. Whilst we're on it, the Roots of Evil was Blair Witch, but with a little bit in Jungle Escape building. Same as last year, cool setting, pretty crap maze. And Platform 15 was effectively the same thing, but flipped with a slightly different finale that was much better because it didn't rely on a trigger. It was just consistently going, so you couldn't miss the finale like you could in previous iterations. Yeah, which is always nice. That's about it for the two mazes. They were upcharge, which
definitely not worth
fundamentally isn't a bad thing. I think upcharging mazes is fine if you're going to provide quality.
Upcharge isn't a bad thing, like, in the case of Alton, it's fine.
Upcharge is fine when the mazes are worth paying for.
Yeah. I would not pay for a Thorpe Park maze.
I would because I want to see what they're like, but that's me being.
They need
enthusy.
to improve their offering if they're going to keep charging for it.
Yeah.
I know why they charged for it last year. It was to try and reduce throughput, but
I can forgive the subpar quality of the Thorpe mazes compared to Alton because they were free.
But when you start charging for them, you expect more.
So if they start charging for the Thorpe mazes, they're going to need to really step up their game.
yeah. I mean, I can totally appreciate why they would. It was, presumably it was a method to try and reduce uptake in the mazes. But it didn't fucking work because we queued an hour for Roots of Evil in a cow pen.
Jesus,
that was horrible.
Which was a just terrible experience.
I do say that Thorpe Park is on the up, but that was genuinely one of the worst days I've had there, just because it was so. the fact that I paid £10 for each maze, and I thought they were shit. And then it was really, really long queues, and it was my own fault because I went on a Saturday. But I'm not doing that again.
That was opening Saturday.
The thing about Alton is you pay for the maze, you never queue more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
For a maze at Alton Towers, I've never have anyway.
You do, but only if you do it late in the day. There's a reason we always do it at 1.
Yeah, true.
Right, let's rattle these off quickly because they will get busy.
Yeah.
But paying £10 and having to queue for 2 hours is
yeah, it's a proper kick in the teeth. And then have a crap maze.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
because
not
when you
ideal.
look at something like Towers, you could still do a proper scare maze.
Yeah.
Despite distancing. And you can do a fucking cracker as well. One of Towers' COVID-specific mazes is my second favourite of all time. But there you go. It's the focus of Festival, of Fright Night's Festival, was not the mazes, and that was clear from the get-go.
Yeah.
It was about the scare zones, and almost all of them, bar 2, were fantastic. They were really good. We haven't spoken about one of them. We have not mentioned the Swarm Zone.
No, we haven't. Swarm Zone was quite nice. It improved the atmosphere of the ride. Didn't make the ride any better, but the area around it was a lot nicer to be in and sit and watch the swarm because you had this just extra stuff going on.
What was the sort of theme of that? Did it tie in with the swarm?
It was just the swarm. Yeah.
Right.
They had a couple of sort of army blokes who'd clearly been abducted by the swarm.
Okay.
They had the old demon costume arms on. And they had a few sort of Les Coogan likes floating about.
Nutters.
It was none of them were scary by any
Swarm
stretch.
Zone was not a scary
that's not
zone.
supposed to be scary, is it? That's more to just set an atmosphere rather than scare people.
It did exactly that. The atmosphere was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that pretty much wraps up everything we have to say about Thorpe. If we come up with anything else, we'll do it as a separate little thing. If they do anything interesting, which I can't see them do. Black Mirror, actually. If we do Black Mirror, we'll do that as a separate episode because obviously no one's done it yet and we'll have opinions on it.
That's either going to be a really short episode or a really long argumentative episode, depending on how bad it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I basically watch this space. You might see some more content from us soon. In fact, you will see some more content from us soon.
You will see some very juicy content from us soon.
Yeah, Tom,
yes,
get on with
due
that.
To release?
Let me check. If everything goes to plan, this episode is hello to everyone on the 2nd of April. A week today, Friday the 9th, go to Tom's channel. He's releasing something.
It's a big boy. You're going to have to clear out your diary.
Yeah.
It's a unit.
It's a 27-minute master.
I think, cinematic masterpiece is how I would describe it.
Presented by One Click Media. So keep your eye out for that. It'll be...
Enjoy that.
We'll see. Yeah. Words.
I think good
you
luck
won't miss
might
it.
Be...
Let's just say that.
Yeah, we'll be chatting
if
shit
you are
about
one
it
of
for
our
ages.
3 loyal fans, you will not miss this.
Yeah, well, on that note, thank you very much for listening. I'm not going to let Tom say anything else. See you next time. Goodbye.
You tosspot. Wanker.
Wanker.
Bye.